For just a moment, can you think about what your greatest fear might be? I think for a lot of us, our greatest fears might revolve around the very simple concept of failure. Whether it's the literal act of failure or the chain of events that might follow after failing at something in general, I'd argue that the root of a lot of humanity's anxieties as a whole can be traced back to a time or even just the possibility of failing in some capacity. Take me, for example. This is something I don't think I've ever spoken about on this channel, but I've struggled with health-related anxiety for as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a kid, I've always been terrified about developing some rare illness or doing something that might inevitably cause me to get hurt in some way or someone else to get hurt in some way, and the same anxiety would also apply to my loved ones as well. Because of this, I grew up as an extremely hypervigilant person. I don't take much, if any, physical related risks, like at all. One of my biggest fears is actually driving a car due to that exact anxiety. Because I'm so afraid of causing bodily harm to myself or to others, I've always been terrified of driving. Ironically, I actually got my license back in about, I'd say like 2015 to 2016, but my anxiety has always been so bad that I rarely even use it and get behind the wheel. Even though my main fear is related to causing bodily harm and driving, the root of that fear lies in one very sneaky act, the act of failure. If I were to, for example, knock on wood, get into a car accident, that result would have been directly caused by me failing to be a more cautious driver. The accident could have even been my fault entirely. The fear of failure doesn't always have to be associated with such extreme scenarios either. I'm sure we've all been there. We have this idea for a project that we can't get out of our heads, but our fear of that project failing, of us failing, holds us back from ever seeing that project through to completion, or even starting it in the first place. There's a lot of potential projects and even opportunities that I've turned away from because I was too afraid that I wouldn't be good enough, I say with air quotes, to see it through to the best of my ability. That fear held me back, like an unwelcome guest in the back of my mind, constantly saying you can't or you won't. If you're anything like me and struggle with an immense fear of failure, I'm glad you're here. I think that the art of being delusional is an extremely, extremely powerful thing. If you're familiar with my channel or with me in any capacity, you might remember that I've actually talked about being delusional in a few other videos in the past, but for this video, I wanted to kind of dive more into that mindset and what exactly I mean when I say being delusional. Being delusional in your pursuits or how you perceive the world around you and how you connect with people and things isn't actually as silly of a concept as it may sound. It's the practice of continuing forward with the assumption that everything will work out in the end eventually, whether it's things going exactly according to how you planned them in your head, or that even in spite of failing something, that everything will be okay in the end regardless. You may very well fail. That's just the reality that we all live in, and that's okay. But do you know what will absolutely guarantee your failure, no matter what? Not starting whatever it is you're afraid of failing at to begin with. As an artist myself, my path has honestly been riddled with failure after failure.
Let's say there's a crane game with a prize inside that you really want at an arcade. The game requires the use of one coin, and all you have in your wallet is a singular coin. You don't really have anything else to spend the coin on, but the very fact that you might walk away completely empty-handed, without a prize and without a coin, is enough to make you too scared to even try your hand at the crane game at all. You keep thinking, what if I don't win the prize? What if all my efforts are in vain? What if I end up with nothing by the end of this attempt? So you leave the arcade with no prize and a single coin in your wallet that you have nothing to do with. That action in itself was a straight shot toward failure. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, as I've said countless times before on this channel, and situations like that, no matter how big or small, are no different. So what if, on the next day, you decide to go back to the arcade and delusionally think to yourself, I'm gonna win that prize. You may very well walk out of that building empty-handed later on, but by still grabbing hold of that opportunity and actually trying, you've just guaranteed that your chances of success have been raised from 0%. I won't sugarcoat it for you. Failure sucks. It doesn't feel good. It can even be embarrassing at times to be seen trying and then failing. It gives you that icky feeling, doesn't it? But I'd argue that the uncertainty in attempting something new is a lot more comforting than the certainty of holding yourself back from ever trying anything at all.
From the age of 6, I delusionally went about my life with the assumption that I would one day grow up to be a hyper-successful, full-time artist, and I would be able to make all of my dreams come true in my creative pursuits. And now, 22 years later, which is honestly pretty crazy that I can even say, I'm sitting here with a plethora of both failures and successes lining the resume of my life, like a little portfolio of every single time I took a chance on myself or on some idea that I had. Sometimes it all worked out. A lot of times I fell flat on my face. But in spite of all of that uncertainty, I keep pressing on regardless because I would much rather be known as an artist who tried her best and gave it her all and can really tell herself that, rather than an artist who was too afraid to take a chance on herself and her passions, and who was too scared to put herself out there and never even saw a lick of success as a result of doing that. I want to walk a path of delusion. And I always say that with air quotes because I know that there's a little bit of a negative connotation that might be attached to that, but I do really want to walk a path of delusion where I assume that things are going to work out for me in the end. And even if I do fail, that things will inevitably be okay regardless. And I may even stumble upon a much better result than I initially was intending to, because art is my greatest passion and my #1 motivation and drive toward fulfillment in life. I may find myself buried under piles of debt from ideas that may not have come to fruition properly. I may be rejected from galleries and exhibitions. I may receive rejection emails from my dream companies. But living with the delusion that I may someday get that one acceptance email, or that promotion, or that viral art piece, or that breakthrough moment with my artistic skills, that reassurance from an artist who inspires me more than anyone else, or even a message from someone who says that my art inspired them in some capacity. All those possibilities make the countless failures feel absolutely worthwhile. So I did kind of want to discuss a little bit about this sketchbook page that I have been working on lately, and you've been seeing me doing this process throughout this entire video, but I did really want to dive into doing a new sketchbook page where I could kind of experiment with my traditional art style a little bit more, and this does kind of tie into the video topic of like failure and things like that. I've been wanting to kind of tweak my art portfolio and just my art style as a whole, and I feel like working on how I portray my work in my traditional art is something that I really need to hone in on and do more of lately. I feel like I've always played it very safe when it comes to my traditional art and things like that. My digital art and my traditional art have always felt pretty disconnected as well, and I've gotten a little bit better about that last year, but I just haven't made very many many traditional art pieces in the past like 1 or 2 years in the first place. So I feel like I don't have enough under my belt to really say that like, oh, I feel like it's really getting closer to what my traditional art style looks like. I feel like there's still kind of that roughness there and a bit of a disconnect there, and that's definitely something that I really want to work on and something that I'm trying to do more of, like in this sketchbook page, for example. And on the topic of like wanting to change up my art style as a whole, I've been really wanting to dive into more fantasy styles and just more fantasy inspired subject matter as a whole, because I feel like that is kind of where the root of my inspiration lies when it comes to just making art in general. And yeah, I feel like the sketchbook page was kind of like a turning point for me in a way. It's the first time in my traditional work that I feel it really kind of coincides really well with my digital art and the kind of digital art that I want to continue to create as well for my art portfolio, for example. A lot of my traditional work tends to be more cutesy or more simplistic, and I wanted to try my hand at more complex rendering with the watercolor paints, which I haven't used watercolor as an art medium in a very, very long time. I think it's been probably like over 2 years at this point, or maybe even 3 years, going on 3 years, that I've used watercolor in my traditional work. And I honestly forgot how much fun it is and how easy it is to kind of manipulate watercolors. So I've just been having a really, really good time working on the sketchbook page, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. And I can't wait for you guys to see the finished result because I am so excited for what I'm about to do with it. I do plan on giving it a little bit of gold paint so that it shines and is a little bit more unique from the usual sketchbook pages that I do. I think my overall goal with this sketchbook page is to just really experiment and also really try and hone in on that art style that I've been really loving lately and have been really wanting to do more of, and that I kind of want to have as a representation of what my art will look like going forward, both traditionally and digitally. So yeah, let's continue on with that.
And so we're back to the drawing board. What can you do to best harness failure? Not as an unfortunate consequence of trying, but as a badge of honor for having the guts to. Looking at your failures as learning opportunities is the best way you can approach them. Don't hide away from your failures, own them. Cradle your biggest mistakes and failures in the palms of your hands and analyze them to better understand why you failed. What caused things to not work out? How can you better approach your next attempt? What are your peers doing that might differ from how you went about this? What can you learn from this? A failure may feel like a stain on your life, your career, your relationships, or whatever it is you're working toward. But rather than a blemish, I want you to look at it as more of a checkpoint. That failure is a stepping stone toward what you're trying to achieve in the long run. You can use that checkpoint to help guide you towards solutions, better results, and even new pathways that may be even better than what you initially had in mind. All in all, I don't think failure is something to be embarrassed about at all. It should make you feel proud that you were willing to do your best and try something, even if it didn't end up working out. And now, you have a new set of experiences you can build off of, a new outlook, a fresh start, and a better understanding of how you can press forward for whatever it is you decide to try next.
As someone who has experienced her fair share of successes and failures, this is a topic that is very, very near and dear to my heart. And of course, it's something that I have touched on a few times in previous YouTube videos as well, but I really did just want to deep dive into this because it's something that I think I could honestly talk about for hours on end. I hope that you never feel ashamed of the things that you may not have been able to achieve throughout your life, because the very fact that you tried and you put yourself out there is something that you should be immensely proud of no matter what. And I hope that you also utilize those experiences from your past failures to help you press forward and continue on. And with that, thank you so much for watching this video. So if you've reached the end of this video, be sure to let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are, what some of your goals are for the future, and also be sure to leave a blue heart emoji so that I know that you reached the end of this video. And also let me know if there are any other topics that you would like me to discuss in a future YouTube video. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share it with someone who you think would absolutely benefit from watching this. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you never miss an upload from me. Until next time, my friend.